Alright, we're going to talk about my Season 32 deck list. For Season 32, I decided to play Fire King. So back over here, I played Fire King. I don't think... I wanted to play more, but meta deck, I had less time. Like, that's why these videos are out so much later. So I was a bit more busy. So this is what I was playing then. I don't have too much to say about this deck list. Except the Snake Eyes cards felt insanely bricky. I don't think I'm going to be telling you anything like really crazy that you haven't seen. I ended up playing Ghost Ogre. I got a royal one, by the way. Which I think had enough application, and I think will have better application when Tempai Dragon comes out too, by the way. So I think Ghost Ogre was a really good call. It was useful against Yubel and some Fire King hands, stuff like that, where sometimes it's pretty good, sometimes it's... I didn't hate having it. Obviously, it's here in the final deck list. I originally was playing Snake Eyes cards, and then I removed them because they felt really bad. They felt horrible. They felt so bad. It felt too bricky. It just didn't seem good enough. So I ended up playing Pure. It felt so much better to play it Pure. For this one, I unfortunately was not tracking my win rate, which is a shame that I don't have access to something like that. I do like being able to tell you that. But yeah, we were just playing, basically maxing out on the ability to get to our cards. Side note, by the way, I do actually advise playing 2 Garunics. I think having a second Garunix would be very powerful, probably worth cutting Triple Tactics talent for that. But I didn't feel like crafting another one. I had already crafted so many cards for this deck that I didn't really want to craft. But I'm just going to talk about, like, basic thought process that's not, like, all of these non-engine were the non-engine I felt were really, like, good and efficient. So, like, I felt good about Effect Veiler, Imperm, Maxi, Ghost Ogre, Ash, and then, you know, Call by Brave, Crossout Detonator for my opponent's hand traps. Triple Tactics talent was also, like, a one-off card I was happy to play. Sometimes looking at your opponent's hand just wins you the game. So we're basically, for the engine, I'm playing maximum, like, consistency, so we're playing 3 Pawnex, we're playing 3 Volcanics, and we're playing 3 Island and 3 Sanctuary, and that's because I was playing less, and then I kept bricking. And I was like, okay, I'm understanding people put in the Snake Eyes cards because they want to avoid these bricks. But I found that those just made me brick more. Like, it didn't feel like it solved the problem. It felt like it just added more bricks to my deck. And despite the fact I had a bunch of Fire King Island and Fire King Sanctuary, I felt pretty good about it. If you draw, like, Pawnex with one of these, we have Skyburns to search, which I'll talk about in a second. Volcanics is great with literally any fire monster. I really like Kieran. Kieran's good. Playing the Garunix to summon off of Volcanics is fantastic. I really like how this deck plays when it draws Engine. I ended up playing Rangbali because I wanted to have access to a spell Trap Negate in theory, and it was okay. It was good enough for me to be like, yeah, I'm going to stay on this. But I think this is very cuttable. But it was not bad enough for me to ever be like, yeah, I'm getting rid of this. The main problem is sometimes it'll be in your hand, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I can summon it from my hand, but you can only activate, like, 1 hand trigger, so if you're trying to summon Pawnex or Garunix the same way, Rangbali is just a third name that makes that process of getting out of your hand a huge pain. And it's only specifically, Fire King monsters and not fire monsters and stuff, so that can be relevant too. But holistically, it was very good. It's a very, like, simple loop, where you'll have, like, usually, like, I remember having Arvada and, like, an Amblo Whale or a Princess on the board most of the time, depending on my opponent's hand traps and stuff, and I'd feel pretty happy about it. And you just have, like, your non-engine 2 and, like, maybe a Skyburn. Skyburn's fantastic. We're playing exactly 2 for a simple reason. You only need 2. I found 1 was too few, but I was happy to draw it, and sometimes I'd be like, oh my gosh, if I just had a second Skyburn, I would have won this game. And I kept having that feeling, where I just needed to be able to use Ponix to search a Skyburn for, like, my turn 3 or something. Just because the pure deck lacks, like, a sheer level of power that, like, the Snake Eyes cards provides. And the second Skyburn would, like, just enough give me what I needed to keep going. Having destroyed Garunix in Graveyard to, like, nuke your opponent's field comes up sometimes. It's great. For my extra deck, I think the interesting thing is that I'm playing a Zeus, which came up. I don't know what to tell you. It's good. Our Link 1's Link Rebo, of course. We can avoid Imperm with it on later turns and stuff. Nightmare Phoenix I was happy to have. Hita's insane. And makes it where Ash will just, like, give you a free access to Promethean Princess. Dark was really dumb. Every time I could make Dark and, like, climb with my opponent's Dark Monster to do the Promethean Princess thing, I actually got mad, and why is this, like, generic? I don't like... I feel like Promethean Princess was made a little too pushed. I feel like a couple of things. I think she should need a fire monster as part of her materials. And I feel like the lock should just apply for the rest of the turn. Like, once you summon back your fire monster, you should be locked for the rest of the turn. I think those are, like, the 2 really big ones. Honestly, a lock for the rest of the turn would be pretty big. Also, I would just like to argue that the Zelantis line shouldn't... Your opponent should have to special summon a monster. The fact that you can special summon a monster to your opponent's field and trigger your own princess is very dumb. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. We're playing Raging Phoenix into Zelantis, so you can do said OTK line, which is... And we have Appaloosa and Ampli Whale as well. IP to go into SP or Appo or whatever else, depending on... just like a bunch of solid extra deck options. I don't think this is a really refined extra deck, but I didn't have any particular issues with this. Yeah, I don't have too much to say. This is like a meta-adjacent deck. I actually found it felt a lot better without the Snake Eye cards, so I didn't play with them. Like, I originally had the Snake Eye cards in this, and I took them out because I was like, I hate these, they're bricky, they're terrible. Sure. I had a good time with this deck. Once I realized I just needed to, like, have 3 Ponix and 3 Fire King Island and Fire King Sanctuary, and, I was always playing 3 Volcanics, but once I realized I, like, actually needed all of those for consistency, the deck felt so much better. And if you're playing it pure without Snake Eyes, I do suggest, like, you have to play those. Because it puts you to 3, 6, 9, 12 starters, which is, like, enough. And you can, like, draw them in duplicates pretty comfortably. Alright. Well, that's my, thoughts on the Fire King deck. It's a good deck. Alright. Later.